Okay, it is straight up noon. Let us begin. Monday mobility snack. I have my blocks here. I don't know that we're going to need them for anything, but it doesn't hurt to have them. This class is going to be a little bit more fluid, less strict as far as kind of our really strict focus movement patterns, and we're just going to be a little bit more fluid and free and organic. So some of my cues are just going to be to kind of figure it out yourself, not so specific, which is nice. Let's start on our back. You can stretch all the way out if you want to, or you could bend your knees. And let's just start with a gentle mobilization of the neck here as we settle into a soft rhythm of breath. Just gently rock your head from side to side. Feeling your shoulders really soften, ground. Observe the weight of your pelvis. And connect down to your inner core cylinder with your breathing expansion. Equal pressure throughout that container with every inhale that you make. We're going to add the arms to the neck movement. So as you turn your head to the right, reach your left arm up and maybe slightly across your body. And then come back to arms to the T. Reaching the other direction. Let's keep it pretty chill, not striving for deep range of motion. You're just working into a little bit of a rib cage reach and stretch. Shoulders are gliding a little bit here, shoulder blades rather. And then whatever direction your top arm is reaching, let's take the legs the other direction. So gaze and right arm reaching to the left as the legs go to the right. Creating that really soft spiral. I like my feet pretty wide here so that I'm getting some rotation in my hips as well. But it probably wouldn't be wrong to keep your legs a little closer, but that's just going to bring you more into rotation of the spine instead. If you like to establish that breath to movement connection, making it more like a vinyasa, you could switch to that. Let's do one more to the left and one more to the right. And set yourself up into a little cannonball shape, including lifting your head and shoulders off the ground. Take some side to side rocks. And then reach your arms forward on a diagonal from your legs. Start to tip to the right. Reach your right arm over your head and come all the way into a sideline cannonball position. Reach your left arm over your head. Take your gaze slightly up and to the left. And now extend your top leg, that left leg, back behind you slightly. And let that lead you back to a starfish position on your back. So spread out your legs, take up a lot of space, and then curl up into that tiny little ball again. Reach your arms on a diagonal. Swim your left arm back and start to roll to your left side. Try to go slow with that controlled motion and then reach both arms overhead. As your right leg reaches back behind you, you're going to use that to drive the movement back to that starfish on your back. And then squeeze yourself up into a little ball. Head and shoulders lift, arms reach. Raise your arms, roll to the right. And then left leg extends. Now the left leg and the left arm are going to reach you back to your back. Try to keep good core control so that you don't come into a back bend. Find that starfish pose. And then last time, squeeze up into a little ball. Lift head and shoulders. Arms overhead as you roll to the left. And then the right leg reaches back. The right arm reaches back. Find the starfish. Spread yourself out wide. Keep your arms where they are. Bend your knees, set your feet wider than your hips. Rock your legs to the right and reach your left arm across, and then pull yourself up onto your forearm. So these little rocks we've done before. And then try to tuck and round in your spine. So you're finding that almost like cat pose-like shape to lay back down. Legs go to the left. Right arm reaches across, and then use your left arm to help pull you up to your elbow. Reach across. And slowly lower down. Let's try a few more like that. I'm going to keep my head off of the ground here, but it's okay also to take it down in between. I'm trying to strengthen my neck a little bit. I think I'm making progress. You can make this really core centric by always imagining that you're in a Pilates roll up or roll down, as the case may be. Trying to keep your shoulders off the ground altogether. On the next several repetitions, let's come all the way up to a palm press. So forearm first, then straighten your arm and reach across. Continue. Last one each direction. And the next time you find yourself up, you're going to stay up and find that quadruped. Come to the tabletop position. Just a few rounds of cat and cow, and you could do it the traditional style, or if you like that laterally flexed cat and cow, you can set your hands off on a diagonal so that one side of your spine's a little longer. I'm going to do it that way. Let's try for a total of about 6 of these. 3 and 3 if you're doing that diagonal version. After your last cat and cow, set your knees about as wide as your hips. Tuck all 10 toes underneath you for a toe stretch. And then if you want less sensation here, you're going to stay down with your hands, but take them across on the diagonal to come into a side bend. But if you could load your toes in this upright position, then you're going to take a side bend in an upright shape with your spine. Either way, let's try to find a little bit of tuck through the pelvis, just so we can decompress our low back a little bit here. Go each way a couple of times. You can make it nice and fluid with your breath if you want to. And then rise up off of your toes. Step your right foot outside your hand with control. Keep your stance a little bit broader from side to side, and then swim your right arm up and then finally behind you for a little bit of rotation. Let's take an inhale here, and then an exhale to take a small back bend, just in the upper back. Inhale, tip your whole body forward, left hand coming towards the floor, but not quite touching. And then exhale, lift and arc back. Keep tucking under with your bum. Last one like that. Inhale almost all the way down, and then lift and curl. 2 hands to the floor. Tuck your back toes under and then lift your back knee. And you can just let the hips lightly float up and down a few times. Land your left knee back down, press into your hands really firmly, and then try to float your right leg slowly back behind you like you're doing a hip car. Pull it into your chest and take it back out the way it went in and step it down beside your right pinky again. Rise up with the right arm, reach it back. Twisting open. Inhale here. Exhale, a little tiny back bend. Think just the upper T-spine here. Diagonal reach forward and down. And then rising and leaning. Just one more like that. Keep the energy in your legs, that little scissor effect. Well, let's come back through center. Take our arms overhead, but quite wide. 3 air pull-ups. Decide how you want your breath to sync up with this movement. You can vary the position of your arms, palms forward, palms inward, elbows down or elbows back. You could even reach forward and row straight back. And then we'll just switch sides. Find the table, really controlled rotation on the left leg to step forward beside your hand. Left arm's going to lead you up into that rotation. Nice long inhale, lengthen. Little lean back, exhale. Diagonal reaching forward and downward. And then rise up. Start with a small range of motion and then gradually progress. I think we only did 2 on this first round, so let's set the hands back down. Firm up your foundation, so really push like you mean it through your arms so that that left leg can get really light. Hip rotation back behind you. Pull it into your chest. And then reverse that rotation and bring it back around and set it down beside your left hand. Right arm can stay as the left arm reaches and circles, and find that upward twist. Take an inhale. Moderate curl back, exhale. And then finding a little bit more rotation as you try to take that right hand a little lower. And rise and twist. Little lean back. Let's try 2 more on this one. Last one. Face forward with your arms. 3 air pull-ups or some rowing motions just to wake up the back of the shoulder a little bit more, feeling the scapula move at the very end of that pull. Take your hands to the floor, tuck your back toes, lift your right knee, and let the pelvis just dip and lift. Set your hands how you like them for your downward facing dog, and as you step your left leg back, take your feet wider. Turn your toes out a little bit. Heels can land, but they don't have to. Fire up the push from your arms, especially in your outer arm bones and armpits. Feel your lats. Lift your heels and send your heels to the left. All 10 toes pivoting to the right. Lean your body weight forward like you're coming to plank and feel that rotation below the navel. Rise your hips. Pivot your heels the other direction. Shift forward into that plank-like shape. And then take the down dog again and set your feet just natural width stance. Take a little trip to the front of your mat, however you like to get there. And let your spine dangle over your thighs. Head heavy. Breath soft. Bend your knees a little more and let's roll up slowly and segmentally, dropping your tail, trying to reach it towards your heels. Come on up. Once you rise, you're going to take an inhale with your arms over your head. Exhale, interlace your hands behind your head. Set your ribs. Take a breath in. Take a side stretch over towards on the right or the left. It doesn't matter because we're going to go both ways. And then without tucking your chin too much, think of cat pose and flex forward in your spine, like you're doing a crunch. Rise up to standing and lean back slightly in that upper body back bend. Reach for the sky with your fingertips. Breathe in. Exhale, forward fold. Plant your palms. Step back to tabletop, but this time hover your knees off the ground. Try to make your back about level to the horizon and see if you can tuck and untuck your pelvis a few times without moving in your upper back at all. Knees down, step your right foot straight out to the side. Rise your spine, 2 arms reach, breathe in. Exhale, side bend over that straight leg. Try to curl your tailbone underneath you a little bit, feel your glutes fire. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, open twist to the right side, just in the upper body. Keep your hips facing forward. Inhale, reach back to center. And then you're going to try to turn the other way, which is going to feel really weird. Just do your best to stay facing forward in your pelvis. Breathe in and take a stretch overhead. Hands down. Float your right leg off of the ground. Try to keep it straight for now and level out your spine. Bend your right knee, squeeze behind your right knee, and then reset your tabletop. Tuck your toes, lift your knees about an inch or so. Drop your hips back towards your heels, press your chest towards your thighs. Shift forward to that hovering table again. Let's take 2 more like that. Stay low in your bum, so you're trying not to move to down dog. This is really going to challenge your quads probably. Let's do 1 more. Shoulders stack over wrists, and then press back. And then set your knees down in that all fours position. Step your left foot out to the side. Rise, neutralize your spine and your pelvis. Lengthening inhale, side bend left, exhale. Through center, split your arms, twist to the left. As you face forward, take a preparatory breath in and then try to twist the other direction as your arms split. Bring it overhead. Reset your hands as foundation. Push more through your hands so that you can make your left leg more buoyant. Float it straight first. Feel those outer hip muscles firing up. And then bend your knee. Really squeeze heel into the tush. And go ahead and set it down. Tuck your toes under. Lift your knees just an inch. Take your hips up and back. Down dog. Drop it down to that hovering tabletop. Shift forward. Try to get your back nice and level. Down dog, hips go high. Back to the hovering table 1 more time. And then we're going to combine those 3 movements. You're just going to have to organize your breathing in a way that feels good. And you could hold one of these poses for both an inhale and exhale to make it make sense for you. So starting in that hovering table with the knees just off the floor, drop straight back first. Keep your hips low. And then start to straighten your legs and come to that downward facing dog. As you shift forward, rebend your knees. Find the hovering tabletop. Hips go straight back to the heels, bear pose. Now we move into that down dog. Let's try 3 more like that. Those 3 movements combined. Breath feeding the flow. final set like this. After you reach your down dog, take another trip to the front of your mat and find that forward fold. You can hinge up or roll up. We'll just come to standing. And then reset yourself in mountain pose. Let your arms just hang beside you. Find some space throughout your spine column. Smooth out the waves of your breath. Maybe even close your eyes just briefly. Okay, moving on to a little bit of a standing flow. We're going to stay on one side for several reps here. So the first position is going to be our 90-90 lunge. So it's a shorter stance from front to back, but maybe a little wider from side to side, kind of like crescent. But we're going to get into that deep knee bend and a more neutral pelvis. The second movement is going to be to pivot open to a plie squat. Okay? And then we're going to turn to the back of our mat and find either a warrior one or a crescent lunge with a side stretch to the left. So it'll be on your left leg. Back to opening to that squat, that wide squat. Back to the original 90-90. And then you're going to stand up on your right leg. Left leg's going to come out in front of you. Step forward with that leg. You might even be off your mat at this point. Any amount of a lunge. And then you're going to stay up on that right leg and start all over again. So left leg steps back, 90-90. Open pivot to that goddess. Pivot to the left now. Any kind of a lunge, crescent or a warrior one. Side bend over to your left. Reach your right arm high. Come out of the side bend and pivot back open to that squat. Back to the starting position, and then stand on your right leg. Step forward on the left. Any amount of knee bend. Again, we're going to do 2 more until we get a little bit of fatigue going here. Lunge. Squat. Take your time with the transitions. Lunge the other way, add a side stretch. Plie. Pivot back. Stand on one leg. Step forward on that hovering leg. Let's do 2 more. Feeling some fire, hopefully, in both legs. Your arms could make a nice little flow too. You can vary their position. What makes sense? Okay, this is our last one on this leg. And then let's just meet back in the standing position just for a moment of recovery. Connect back to a smooth cycle of breathing. Heart rate's probably up a little bit. Okay, resetting. Depending on what leg you started with, because I don't think I actually told you, you're just going to do the same movements on the other side. For me, it's my right leg going back to that 90-90 lunge. Opening up goddess. Crescent or warrior A to the other side. And now we're side bending towards the right. Finding that deep, wide squat in between. Pivoting back to that forward facing lunge. And then we power down through the standing leg. Hover for a moment, and then step all the way through. And then push off. Going to try for at least 3 more rounds. I think we did a total of 6 on the other side. But basically you're just maybe trying to hit your plateau or your fatigue level. If your form starts to slip a little bit, it's a pretty good indication that we might be close to being done on that side. Second side's always a little harder because we already have some amount of fatigue happening in the legs and the glutes. Even in the ankles, calves, feet. Forgot where I was going there for a second. Squat. Remembering that side bend somewhere in there to the right. Grounding, hovering leg, and a full step through. Strong push. See if you can catch your balance. I'm going to do one more after this one. The last movement will be that full step through, and then you'll come back to standing in a neutral grounding mountain pose. If you still are midway through your routine, keep it going. And then let's take a wide step open and come back to that plie position. The squat doesn't have to be super deep, but instead let's really focus on the abduction of the legs, so really feeling a connection to the strength and the power in your outer hip as you try to lift through your inner arch, but keep your foot tripod intact. Hands go behind the head, and then we're going to set our ribs down. Side bend right. And we'll go left. Consciously contracting one side to stretch the other, and then rotation both directions. The hips are going to want to turn. Try to pull them kind of the opposite direction as what your sternum is moving. Let's try for 2 more sets like that. If you can maintain that squat, that's great. But if the legs just can't manage, then obviously take a quick rest. Notice how your shoulders going to want to pull you into the movements. Try to keep them stationary. And move from that central core channel instead. I think we can do one more, folks. Let's try it. Last time to rotate. Keeping the spine long and vertical. As you neutralize, straighten out your legs and pivot your toes to the long side of your mat. And here we're going to take hands on the hips or the rim of the pelvis there, and then see if we can just tip sideways in the pelvis, side to side. Kind of like that sassy hip position that we do sometimes when we go to triangle pose. And then let's rock the pelvis from front to back. Creating a little lumbar extension as we let the tailbone reach behind us. And then trying to scoop under a little bit, feeling the glutes engage. We'll settle in on that forward pelvic tilt so that can lead us into our wide leg fold. Instead of letting gravity win here, see if you can control that movement down and consciously flex at the hip. Keep reaching your sternum both forward and then eventually downward until you reach your maximum fold without your arms. And then maybe the arms want to help a little bit. Big toe hold or the back of the heels. You're in a different relationship to gravity here, so you might see how it feels to mobilize your scapula in rotation. Sometimes we are really conscious of pulling the shoulders down here, but it might feel nice just to let them kind of sag and hang and then pull back. Walk fingertips out in front of you, bring your back up a little ways. Let's take some side to side lunges. We're going to pivot the toes as we do that. So you can just lift one ball of the foot, doesn't matter which way you go first, and just turn it out a few degrees as you bend into that knee. Keep your arms right out in front and then go the other way. This could be as shallow or as deep as you'd like in those side lunges. The leg you are bending away from, try to keep it nice and straight. And then sensing that give and take, that push and that pull from around your hips to get you in and out of these two positions. Where's the work coming from? Last one each way. And then we're going to stay facing the side of our mat here. Your hands can be off of your mat. Just bend your knees and set them down for tabletop. Walk your knees out wider. Dial your toes out and bring the inner arch and heel towards the floor for a frog-like shape. We're going to keep this active today, so instead of coming down to your depth, maybe come down, 70% of your depth. You could still come to your forearms here, but try not to be at your end range right now. Press down through your feet, that inner ball of your foot, the inner heel, and see if you can imagine that your knees are just a little lighter on the floor right now for 5. And now press your knees down and make your feet lighter. They might even lift off the ground a little bit. They don't have to though. That is the 2 movements we're going to explore. Just work through those in your own time. Simulating external rotation and abduction, followed up with the internal rotation and adduction. A true hip opener, if you ask me. Nourishing both sides of the hip. 2 more sets. And then plant your palms, bring your chest up, tuck your big toes under, and bring your legs back in. And then you can pivot back towards the regular side of your mat. One last down dog. I think it would feel good to take one leg high and either just reach it or rotate it. You could even flip your dog here if that's a pose that you think you're ready for. And switch sides. Make your way onto your back. So you might roll down segmentally. Stretch your right leg up. You can hold your big toe or the back of your lower leg. Use your arms to guide you to your end range of motion, and then try to let go and maintain your position. Can you get your back to connect to the floor as it normally does? Switch out the right leg for the left leg. Same. Start with a supported stretch. And then sustain it as best you can. Breathe into your backside. Head and shoulders can come off the mat here, and we're gonna move into a leg scissors, kind of like a Pilates movement, a little pulse at each end range, coupling some spine flexion with hamstring stretching. Let's do 3 more each side, unless your neck gets tired. Last one. And then as you reset on your mat, bring your left foot to the floor with your knee bent. Cross your right ankle over that left leg. Take your hips a little to the right, and then let your legs twist over to the left for that figure 4 rotation. Nice stretch on that whole right side here. A little bit of the inner thigh, maybe even towards your hip flexors. And switch sides. And then today we're going to take some time for a short seated meditation. Again, you could also do that kneeling. So you could roll up Pilates style from here, or you could rock and roll your way up. Maybe a combination of both of those things. My roll-ups are still pretty sad. And then sit how you want to sit. I'll set the timer. I'm just going to go for 2 minutes today because of the time. I'm trying to keep these under 40 to 45 minutes. Get settled. If you don't want to sit still, sometimes it's nice just to rock your trunk side to side like a metronome. Conscious breathing without it being forced. Make some space in your exhales. Let's take a few clearing breaths. Inhale for about 4 or 5 counts. Let it trickle out even slower if possible. Let's finish off with one set of side bends and rotations in the spine. You can reach arms up if you'd like. Breathe in or out, doesn't matter. Keep your pelvis steady and take a bend towards one side. Switch it. And then we'll rotate it. Nice spiral. Finding your end range first without your arms, and then maybe you add that little extra twist. Back the other way. That's it, my friends. You made it. Another Monday practice. So thanks for coming. I have time to chat for a moment in the Zoom call if you want. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time.